Hi guys, I'm Beth from Restyle Pieces Boutique. Today I'm going to be modernizing this corner cabinet. It has beautiful glass and oak, solid wood. However, the clothy that gives me the creeps has to go. So we're going to switch that up, and if you want to watch this makeover, stay tuned. As mentioned earlier, here is the corner cabinet, and I am not happy with these ugly cloth feet. So they just give me the creeps. I don't want anything that looks like a raven or an eagle or an animal of any type. But the rest of this piece is in really good shape, and I love the etched glass at the top. I am, however, going to take the mirrors out of the back of the piece and replace it with something else. So here I am trying to get the screws out. I unscrewed it. I'm taking this piece off and I'm realizing, oh my gosh, it is connected to the doors and the hinges. So I quickly put those screws back in, and I realized that I could go up to the front of the piece and just take this trim out and then slide that glass right out. So that's what I'm doing. I'm using my painter's tool and a hammer, and I'm wearing gloves, and I'm just loosening this trim that's around the one side of the mirror, and then I can slide it out of there. So you can see after I get the glass out, I have a nice wood backboard there. I have to figure out what I want to do with it now. I also am going to need to take this light out eventually because I need to paint the ceiling. Here's my trim. I like to label the trim so that I know exactly where it goes back. But now let's get some washing done. So I'm cleaning this piece with Farmhouse Paint Pure Power. I cleaned it well, rinsed it, and then now I'm putting the trim back in because I need trim on both sides, obviously. I'm cleaning the feet. At this point, I'm also thinking about how am I going to get those feet off? They didn't screw off, and I really wasn't a big fan of trying to cut them off with a saw. So I just thought I'd start with my painter's tool and a hammer and try to pry those off. I found out that there were nails coming through the bottom of the piece, which you didn't see on the other side, but they were in there somewhere that kept these feet attached along with a little bit of glue. So I just was able to pull those off. You can see it left a little bit of imperfections in the underside of the piece, so I wanted to smooth that all out. So I got my all-purpose Bondo. It's a 2-part epoxy putty, and what you do is you take the one part and then you mix the hardener out of the tube, just a little squirt there. Mix that up till it's really thoroughly mixed. It only lasts, you only get to use this for about 30 seconds to 45 seconds, and then it'll start hardening up on you. So maybe more than that, but not much. So I spread that on those areas, use my spreader to get it nice and smooth, and then I can just sand those off when it dries. It dries in like 20-25 minutes. So while I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm just going to scuff sand the rest of the piece. Oops, I got to take off those keyhole covers first. So let me pry those off. I try to keep these as much as I can. Normally I am able to gently go around all the edges, but these were just paper thin. They were some kind of metal, but they bent and I wasn't able to keep them. So I am going to have to purchase some keyhole covers. They're usually not that expensive, so I wasn't real worried about it. I did want to, however, measure that space there because it's not got any finish on it and I'd like to cover it. That would just make it so much easier. So it was like 1 inch wide, 1.5 inches long, and I was able to find some actually. So I ordered them and they should be here soon. Meanwhile, I'm going back to my scuff sanding. I'm sanding my piece off so I can rough up that smooth surface. This gives your paint something to stick to. It will adhere better. And when I'm finished scuff sanding, I'm just going to wipe up that dust with a clean cloth. My Bondo is dry, so I'm just going to sand that smooth and then I'll be on to the next step. And I'm finishing up my scuff sanding here, all on every surface that I'm going to be painting, which is all of the piece pretty much except the glass. So I'm finishing that up, and then like I said, I just barely spritz my rag and I get all of that paint, or I'm sorry, all of that dust wiped away. You can see on the inside that I have unscrewed that light fixture at the top. I just have to figure out how I'm going to wrap it while I paint, because I can't get it through the hole. I can't get it to take it off altogether. So I'm thinking, since I'm going to do something different to these wood pieces in the backboards, that I can just wrap it and tape it to the backboard, and that will allow me to get my sprayer in there to paint. So I just took a gallon bag, zipped it up tight, and I'm going to wrap that up. So I taped up my backboards in the back, and I did the same thing to the cord that was sticking out through the back. I just affixed it to the back, and then I can get around those edges with my sprayer. The glass was just going to be too difficult to take out all that trim and get the glass out, so I'm going to tape it up on both sides of both doors. I'm trying to decide my delicate tape or my green frog tape. And I decided that I could clean up any residue if there was any sticky residue, which usually there isn't with frog tape. But I decided to use my frog tape because it just seems to work better. I'm using my Scotch blue tape with plastic attached. This is a 4-foot long section, or wide. So this is definitely longer than 2 feet. I have a smaller roll that's 2 feet, but this is a very tall piece of glass, so I needed it to be longer. I'm going to tape off the sides and the bottom, and then I'll have one finished, and then I only have 3 more pieces of glass to tape up. So I'm going to give you just a little better a close-up so you can see my process. So now it's all taped up, and I have found some feet online that I ordered from Amazon. Those are in the description below, along with all the other materials I used. And I missed taping this, but what I did is drilled a hole for that bracket, put the bracket on, and then screwed it on. And then all you do is you take the legs, these are unfinished legs, and you screw them in. I'm going to paint these legs the same color as the piece. Now, if you remember, there was a straight leg in the back. It's longer because the legs were 1 inch longer that were on the piece, those clawfoot legs. So I'm going to have to mark off 1 inch, and I've cut this off with my reciprocating saw. Not stressful at all. Nailed it. Now we just have to make sure that the piece stands up upright and they're the same length so that my cabinet will be balanced. And I completely lucked out because it's solid, it's not wobbling, everything's great and even. And now it's time to prime. So I'm using my Kills Restoration Primer. It's a water-based primer, but it acts like an oil-based primer. It blocks stains, it promotes adhesion, it makes a nice, smooth surface for your paint job. I'm 5'4" and the cabinet is 5'3", so yes, I needed my step stool for this part. This Fuji Q5 Platinum Sprayer has been a wonderful investment for my business. It is expensive, but worth it. And now I'm going to paint. I'm using Inkwell from Wise Owl Paint. It is 1 hour enamel. It is so durable. It has a beautiful finish and no top coat, which saves time, and the customer still gets a nice durable finish. I am in love with this deep blue, moody color. It is just gorgeous. I do strain my paint to get any little imperfections or blobs out of the paint so that doesn't end up on my paint finish. So I'm going to spray the doors first. I'm going to do the back side first, do the piece, come back to the doors. By the time I'm ready and I flip them over, it'll be fine to flip them over to do the front side. So you'll see me do the doors and then part of the piece, but then when I change angles, I forget to turn the camera on. So you'll get to see part of the painting. And now my favorite part, taking all that plastic off of the doors and the piece and seeing what I've got underneath. It's so exciting. I was so pleasantly surprised at how well this taping job went. I prefer to take glass or mirrors out of my doors, but it turned out just great. So for an added touch, I'm putting wallpaper on both of those back two brown panels that you saw. And I just wanted that beautiful, light, airy touch, and it coordinates with the colors so well. I make it a little bigger than what I need, and then I trim. It's much easier than having it come out too short. I use a large putty knife and then my X-Acto knife, and just carefully go around and get all those pieces out. So now I'm going to show you the piece before I started, those gross animal claw feet, and now what it looks like now. Oh my goodness, the gold on the front and those new legs and the wallpaper, I just love it. Thanks for watching today. Thanks for being here. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, I invite you to do that. Hit that bell button so that you'll be notified when new videos come out. And thanks for watching. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.